Hey guys, Stealth here. After having a look at Blue 4 with the Ash and Shadows mod, I thought it was only fair to devote an entire separate video to Redfor as well. Now, one of the first things you need to know about the mod, if you haven't seen the previous video, it's adjusted a lot of the units. And most of the units have been adjusted to 2015 and previously. So before, in let's say the base Wargame Dragon, the vanilla version, we have units that I believe stretch up to 1996. I believe that's the most modern unit that you can get. Right now it's 2015, with a lot of prototype units actually being produced. Let's say that the Second Korean War actually happened, and a lot more money went to the defense departments. So units that were normally, let's say, reserved as prototypes were now actually developed. So that's why you can see quite a few units that you may not see otherwise. One thing we're going to delve into pretty deeply is RedMed. RedMed is, according to the mod author, a collection of Mediterranean units which have sympathies towards the USSR. And this is interesting because they have units ranging from Western and Eastern units or Eastern armies. For example, how would you like to transport a unit of Recon, which looks pretty much like the Kampfschwimmer, in a Black Hawk? Stuff like that. I was going, what? So let's quickly go through this deck. The logistics section doesn't really look that impressive. There's not a lot of changes there. You can see the changes if you go looking towards the infantry tab. And this is where stuff gets interesting. We got the Al-Failaq here, which is just a fire support squad. Al-Jundi Lahab, which is a napalm trooper. But look at the transport for the napalm troop. These guys are being brought in the BMT-72. Now, I believe the model is a T80... T80UM, maybe? It's not actually a T80UM, but it is a tank that you're getting as a transport for this infantry. With 18 frontal armor, 19 armor penetration. So this unit alone can get you, and it's going to cost you a lot of points. It's going to cost you 95 points to call in one of those Al-Jundi Lahabs with a BMT-72. But it will get you a tank. Now, other than that, we have the As-Sa'ika. I'm hoping I'm not completely butchering that pronunciation. Looks like standard line infantry. But the transports, we got an SPW-80, and then we have the M113. So again, taking from both sides there. EIFV looks like a sort of warrior to me. This is Harris troopers with RPG-30s. We got Jundi Kafifa with the Metis M light infantry. Republican Guard. Saka. I'm not entirely sure what they are, but they remind me of the LSTRs, with Vampire as well as Igla S missiles. Sam carrying the Stingers, again, Western type of weapon. Strela 2s. So they take units from all sorts of different nations, which I think is very interesting. This becomes even more evident when you start to look at support tab, because right here you can see just the usual Redfor units. Until you come up against the Scud. This thing isn't entirely exactly in the game. It uses the model of, I believe, the BM-24, maybe? Something like that. Okay, not the BM-24. Not entirely sure what kind of missile this thing used to fire, but now it fires the Scud, which is one 3,000 kilogram warhead over 75 kilometer range. So this thing is going to leave a mark with 18 high explosive power. Now, other than that, I was thinking, okay, looks pretty East 4 to me, or Red 4. Until you come up against the Patriot Pack 3. This is actually a very nice anti-helicopter / anti-airplane unit that carries 16 missiles instead of the usual 4 that the normal Patriot carries. S-300V. Again, a unit with an acquisition radar, which is going to panic your forces or your aircraft if they get inside the tracking range. Doesn't fire until the missile is in range. So it doesn't fire at 9.1 kilometer range, it fires at 7.8 kilometer. Other than that, they have the Buratino. So this is a very, very well-rounded support section, I gotta say. They have a lot of choice. And look at this, for example. The M110, Western Artillery Unit, and the SFL-HB, which I believe is the Russian artillery unit. So again, it's like they went shopping on the arms market and they just bought both. So that now you have quite a lot of choice what kind of deck you want to compose with these guys. Tanks, same thing. It looks initially like they went with T-55s, T-62s. Not entirely sure what an RO-120 Mark III is. T-72s, T-80U, and then there is the M1A1 Abrams and the M1 Al-Abramski. Very, very heavily armored tank. 23 frontal armor, 24 armor penetration. These things are going to be serving next to T-55s and T-72s. You can have both in one army, which I have never seen. Unless you have, of course, a teammate which has somehow acquired the other unit, but other than that, never seen it. Recon, they get a KA-52, but not the KA-52 that you're used to, because this thing fires medium-range Vickers missiles, so ATGMs, as well as some AA missiles, and it comes with an autocannon. So this KA-52 version doesn't carry a seed missile. Already briefly mentioned this, Mukhabarat Recon unit with a UH-60 Blackhawk. Again, quite the different from transporting them in the Mi-24, for example. Let's see if anything else springs to mind here. Not really. They got something that's called Task Force 999. Not exactly sure what that is. Looks like just standard recon infantry to me. Vehicles. Oh yeah, we got the BMP-T 72 Terminator. Normally, we get the BMP-T, and that even in itself is a very, very dangerous unit. This one has been even further improved to carry Chrysanthema HGMs. They carry 4 of those, so make them count. And if I would ever deploy this unit, I would make sure to disable that weapon system so that it's only going to fire exactly when I want it to fire, so that it doesn't waste those missiles on 5-point transports. That would be a real waste of 27 armor penetration and 80% accuracy. Beside that weapon, you still have an autocannon, a grenade launcher, and 18 frontal armor. So these things can be very, very deadly. Other than that, not too much of an interesting vehicle here. Of course, there's the BMT-72 again, because it's considered a vehicle as much as a transport. EIFV, looking like a warrior, although the stats seem to be closer to a Bradley. So again, you can have a sort of, let's say, Bradley variant with a warrior look, compared or serving next to a BMP-1. Helicopters. We have the DHS Mi-24P. This was always an East 4 unit. They always had this. They didn't always have the Apache. So again, pretty much the counterparts are going to be serving next to each other. As far as air goes, we can see exactly the same thing. They have F-16s, which carry, for example, 12 250 kilogram bombs. They have Peace Vectors, which carry fire and forget anti-tank missiles. And then they have the MiG-35. So again, they went shopping on both sides of the fence, and they decided to just get both. There's even a Rafale EM here. Not entirely too sure what the EM stands for. I was going for electronic, but not exactly by the looks of it. Carries a very nice missile, the Meteor, which I believe is used by the Blue forces. So keep in mind that these guys can be pretty damn diverse, which can initially confuse the heck out of you if you haven't played this mod yet. And if I would not have paid attention to the armory, if I would have just gone into battle, I would be like, what the hell are you using? Because they can just use all sorts of different stuff pretty much at the same time. Alright, enough about RedMed. Let's have a look at the other nations, see if they have any specific interesting units. Let's go for logistics. Not really seeing anything too new here. Looks decent. Not sure we had a T-74 M1D as a command tank though, but the stats aren't spectacular. fobs everywhere. No, nothing too interesting there. We do have Spetsnaz. Oh, look at that. What's the boomerang? Looks like a sort of upgunned BTR-90. Or at least up-armored, because these things have 5 frontal armor, which for a wheeled vehicle is quite a lot. Most wheeled vehicles don't have that. Another interesting unit that came to mind when I was browsing the Armory is the Spetsnaz transported by the Mi-42. Have a look at the speed. How does dropping off Spetsnaz at 480 kph sound to you? Overpowered a bit? I think so. I have not ever seen a helicopter in Wargame that flies faster than, I believe, 330 or 350. I believe that's currently the absolute top speed of a helicopter. Well, they pushed that envelope a bit, and now we have a unit that flies 480 kph. So this thing is going to be quite hard to catch for AA units, unless it flies right over them. Any other transports? I'm looking for something that doesn't look familiar, or infantry units that I haven't seen before. Oh, we got Gornostrelki 05, carrying the Cornet ATGM, 60% accuracy, 27 armor penetration. This thing is quite a bit better than the normal Gornostrelki, which have now been, I think, designated as the Gornostrelki 98. Also gotta say, that machine gun that they're carrying looks pretty heavy. 0.75 HE. That's quite a bit more than most units have. Most of them fire 7.62mm round. These things fire 12.7. That's rather high. Granatomet still there. This looks like Mustrelki, which have been downpriced. You can now get them at 8 points. Look at that, you can spam these guys for 13 points. And you get a pretty decent infantry unit out of it too. Look at the amount of armor penetration that these guys have. Hongjan looks like an ATGM trooper. A new Polish infantry unit. Reminds me of the LSTRs. Jiao Long. AT weaponry, as well as anti-infantry. I think they have used the type of cameo that the Lijian used. Let's hope that those are still in the game though. Yep, here they are, Lijians. They're still here. Oh god, these guys got even more threatening. They're now a 15-man squad. As if it wasn't hard enough to kill Lijians yet. Now they come with 15 instead of 10. Look at that, they got 10 napalm rounds, where they used to have, I believe, 6. Oh god, it's even faster. The KA-92 has a top speed of 558 kilometers. This thing is gonna be so damn hard to catch, because it is actually faster than some aircraft. So we now have a helicopter that's faster than some aircraft, as well as carrying pretty hefty rocket pod loadout. Just imagine starting the match, calling in a couple of Morskaya Pekota in the KA-92, and just rushing a flank. Normal helicopter units in Red Dragon, let's say they fly on average at speed of 280 kph, which means that the opposing force has plenty of time to deal with it. They can put up quite a lot of defenses in that time. This situation, not so much, because that air rush is going to be coming at you literally twice as fast. So be warned. And I'm not sure if the AI would do something like that, but better safe than sorry. We got a new unit here, the Kurganets 25, carrying a 30mm autocannon, decent AGGM as well as 7 frontal armor. Pretty high for an infantry transport. Nebysky Beretti, looks like these guys did not get any upgrades as far as transport goes, but they did get up to the 98 version. Still, for a 98 version, they have not a lot of armor penetrator, only 17. Pancherinovsky, oh, you can also drop these guys off in an Mi-42. Let's see about the rest of them. Groms improve the range, 3.5 kilometers almost against helicopters. Concours, M, Cornet. Cornet is the new HGM by the looks of it. And that's the T-15. What the? T-15? This thing may look very, very inconspicuous, like it's just a very flat transport. But wait. It has 15 frontal armor. 15? For an infantry transport. Well, okay then. It's looked like we're gonna have to learn Wargame all over again with this mod. This could make for some very, very surprising gameplay. Let's see, the Igla N already had pretty good stats. Igla S improves upon those. Then we got the Verba. Look at that, 70% accuracy. As well as 5 HE, so they actually got a bit more deadly as well. Qianwei now have a AT weapon, a 120mm rocket, 22 armor penetration, very deadly, as well as being capable of firing at HE, so that it means ground targets. That is deadly. Sapari looking exactly the same like they were. Sapari 85 now get the RPO Rice. And yes, I am going over this a bit faster than I normally would if I were composing a deck, but there are just so many units to consider here. And so many tabs I still have to go through. I do want to give you a bit of an impression of the mod. Now, what do we have here? We got the AHS Crab. Not too sure how this thing is any different from a normal artillery unit. Let's see, the Buck M1... yeah, the Buck M12A. Long-range anti-air platform. RM70, Pongay, VTT Grom. I think this was already in the game. Let's see. Yeah, this was also already in the game. Just its stats have been buffed quite a bit. Nona SVK already in the game. PGZ 80, or sorry, 95 already in the game. Not seeing a lot of new units here. S300V. Is that a sort of Cub variant or? Oh yeah, that's a Cub variant. All right, look at this. Range 6.4 kilometers against aircraft. Range 7.8. That's quite significant if you're dealing with enemy aircraft. Osas, Tungushkas, Tungushka, bloody hell. Tungushka was already always a very, very dangerous unit when you were dealing with enemy helicopters. This thing now fires at helicopters at a range of 4.2 kilometers with that missile that it carries. Tanks. It may not look impressive, but this is the T-14 Armata, and considering that you cannot change models in Red Dragon, we're going to be stuck with, let's say, the models that are already in the game. And that means that the T-14 Armata doesn't look impressive, but its stats tell a whole different story. 70% accuracy, 24 armor penetration, 23 armor, 80 kph, good optics, 50% ECM. What the hell? This thing can deflect missiles all on its own. Strength 14. Units so far have only had a strength of 10. The only unit that springs to mind that has a higher strength is the B5 bomber. But that's really the only unit that I would consider to have more than 10 strength. We got something called the Sun Gun 915. Oh, we got a tank with AA weaponry here. Igla S mounted on this tank, beware. PT-70U, or 72U. T-55 Drozd. Looks like it's very decent at defending, but not very good at attacking, because it only has a 10% stabilizer. Not that many tanks that I'm not recognizing. PT-91Z Hardy. Looks like an upgrade from the Twardy. They have massively improved the stabilizer. Twardy has a stabilizer of 30%, this one has a stabilizer of 60%. As well as 1 point armor penetration more and 1 point armor more. 12 strength. That makes the Moderna look a bit weak, or weaker. T80UM. Although the Moderna does have a strength of 12 again, and medium optics. All these tanks getting a medium optics. What the hell is going on? Seriously. Now we got 2 units work in progress. I'm not going to click those for risking to crash the game. I'd rather not have that. Recce. What do we have in reconnaissance that doesn't look familiar? The Rosomak M1M. Looks like a transport for the Formosas. Formosas still carry the same weaponry, thank God. Rosomak M1M. 7 frontal armor. Other than that, it's just a very heavily armored and armed transport. But I personally wouldn't want my Formosas to come in a unit like that. KA-52 had its seed missiles buffed to now have a range of 4.2 kilometers. So very deadly indeed at this range. Other recon units that we may not have seen before. Spetsnaz GRU. You can of course drop the Spetsnaz GRU off in some of those very fast helicopters. Or no, actually you can't. That's unusual. The VMF have the KA-92, so they have that incredibly fast helicopter, but the GRU doesn't. Probably not a bad thing either. Zulu 9 Whiskey Alpha. Long range ATGMs, exceptional optics, very fast helicopter, medium stealth. Impressive. Vehicles. BMD-3, BMP-2M. Not seeing anything new here yet. The Norov. Norov could use a bit of a buff if it wants to be competitive with the units that we have now. MGC-1. Machine gun carrier. Maybe. Carrying a very heavy machine gun. And 7 frontal armor. It's like they buffed the armor of virtually every transport in the game. Oh, new unit. The Chrysanthema ATGM transport, or ATGM vehicle. Firing those high-end AT weaponry at 80% accuracy, 2800 meters, 27 armor penetration. Keep in mind though, this amount of firepower will get you through the front of a Challenger, but it's only going to take 2 damage. So you're going to have to fire a lot of those ATGMs at the Challenger in order to kill it. And I'm talking Challenger 2, by the way, not the base Challenger. PTZ-13. Looks like a tank destroyer or fire supporter. ATS-103. Not seeing anything too new here. WZ-550. Yeah, because the range on that thing wasn't long enough. BMPT hasn't been adjusted. I thought they did something to the Su-76 or something like it. ATS. Must have been mistaken. Helicopters. A new helicopter of what I believe is a Tiger for China. Carrying long range ATGMs, 3.1 kilometers. 2100 meter rocket pods, as well as a pretty hefty main gun. Medium stealth, of course. Medium optics, pretty fast. TY-90. This is your AA helicopter. We got a Sokol, we got a Super Hind. Well, it doesn't look that super to me. Not really, anyway. How about the others? Mi-28NW. Oh, they've been upgraded. This one still has the Attacker. This one has the Chrysanthema, which is that long-range ATGM with a massive amount of accuracy. As well as having extremely accurate rocket pods. be wary of this unit. And that's it. How about air? B5 is still in there. Yeah, the B5 has 15 strength. So that is the one that I got right. It has strength higher than 10. And I believe it was the first unit in the game to have that. J31 Snowy Owl. Pretty decent AT vehicle by the looks of it. Anti-tank sniper. The Fibow. Fibow is now a C/dead plane, so it can both suppress enemy radar with electronic warfare pod as well as destroy enemy radar with the anti-radar missile. Aside from that, MiG-29 912, yep, looks the same. Of course, stats like the R73 M1 may have been adjusted slightly. MiG-37 looks like an anti-tank unit, which is very, very capable with a missile that goes through 28 points of armor. Or that does 28 points of damage to the armor. Oh, the Pak-Fa. I believe this is one of the most modern air superiority fighters currently in the world. Look at that. 17 kilometer, almost 18 kilometer range against air targets. 8 strength. 50% ECM, exceptional air detection, good stealth. That's significant. And a time over target of almost 2 minutes. That's a very long time. J16. Oh, be wary of this one. Carries 10 500 kilogram bombs. Which means that this thing, if it's going to bomb your infantry, is going to leave a real mark on the scenery as well. If you need something really dead, you bring in the Su-24 M2. Carries 16 of those bombs. Bloody hell. Still 40% ECM, 900 kph. Looks like these things are actually quite survivable for a bomber, but then again, you're paying 155 points for them. Vickers missiles still mounted to the Su-25TM. I thought they would do a bit of a buff to this unit, considering that all the others carry the Chrysanthema ATGM. Aside from that, I'm not really seeing anything else. Su-34MF. Exceptional air detection, 50% ECM, medium stealth. Drops 3 1500 kilogram bombs. Now this is where I'm a bit confused. Look at this unit. 25 HE. Now we're going to go back and find the Scud. Here's the Scud. Scud supposedly fires something that has twice the amount of explosive power, 3000 versus 1500. But it does 7 HE less, with the same amount of suppression. I don't see the logic there. I don't see why that's the case. But anyway, I think we almost went through this list. Where were we? Su-25, yeah, here. Su-34. 12 500 kilogram bomb cluster bombs. Very deadly if you have a large convoy of units. Yak-141 got a bit of a range buff to its long range Vimpel. Short range looks very accurate. And then there's the base Yak-38. Nothing really too special about that. So, there you have it. Redfor in the Ash and Shadows mod. I haven't played these guys yet. I will do so soon and have a video for you up on the channel to see exactly how these units work and whether the AI knows how to do with it. Maybe I'll be doing an invite to subscribers to have them also install this mod, and we can have an Ash and Shadows tournament or a couple of games together. One thing to be wary of though, if you're installing this mod, I'm going to quit out of the Armory and go to the deck list, it messes up all of your decks. All of my decks, let me go back a bit. I copied my Red Dragon folder so that I have a separate install for my, let's say, vanilla game, so I can go into multiplayer, and the Ash and Shadows mod so I can play that and review it for you. It shares the deck, let's say the deck list. And this means that all of the units that are in your usual decks are going to be adjusted once you start up the Ash and Shadows mod. So if you have any decks that you're particularly fond of, make sure that before you install this mod, you export that deck. Just use the export code, paste this somewhere to a text file, an email, whatever you want to save it, and then that way you're going to be sure that at least you have the file for later use, or at least you have the deck code. Because right now, if I go back into my normal Red Dragon, it's going to have all of these decks in the way that they are now, so I'm going to have to rebuild all of those decks. Bit of a pain, but so be it. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on this mod. I think it is looking pretty balanced right now, and it is in beta, so there can still be quite some bugs. There can be some unexpected things, but we'll see about that as I'm going to be doing a bit of gameplay. For now, thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next video.